last lecture, you saw Egypt moving away from the Western camp, meaning the capitalist countries, right? The British, we already know what's happening with them and the Suez Canal and all of that, and the United States denying them any financial aid or loans or anything. And so now it's the idea of who do we turn to? The only other superpower that basically wants to rival the United States and is rivaling the United States at this time, the USSR, right? The Soviet Union, the communist. So the relationship that was formed between Egypt and the USSR was done out of convenience, right? It's was never the intention of like Nasir seeing the USSR and saying, "Oh, like I want to be just like them, and I admire what they're doing." I mean, maybe he was thinking of that, sure, but that's not why he approached that, and neither, was the USSR viewing what Nasir was doing and saying like, "Yes, awesome." It's the idea of both of them have things to offer to one another. And so that's why it was convenient for both of them to come together. Nasir being denied by the superpower of the United States, the loans, um, made it convenient for the USSR to kind of offer these things up and build a relationship, right? Um, Nasir did criticize capitalism, but his form of socialism was never modeled after the Soviet Union's model. And I mean, it makes sense because what the Soviet Union is doing for themselves and their model of socialism works for them, right? Just like China, although inspired by the USSR, they eventually have their own form of communism in China that works for the region of China because they have their own unique needs. You will see this when we go to Cuba as well. Okay, even though they are all forming relationships with one another. So this is evident in that Nasir's government has had multiple clashes with unions. Unions tend to lean to the left, and unions tend to have leftist, socialist, and communists. Um, and also he filled up jails with communists as well, and accused communists of serving other countries' best interests and not Egypt. So it's a little confusing, but again, it's because Nasir has a different vision of what socialism is and how it's going to work for his country. And so he's very straightforward about what is acceptable and what's not. Next slide. Last slide too. And moved towards the Soviet camp in 1955. Though he bought arms from a communist country in Czechoslovakia. We'll visit the details as to why he bought this later on. It'll become very clear. And turned to the Soviet Union for a loan for the Aswan Dam. So this is showing a like kind of like a polar opposite of jailing the communists in Egypt, but at the same time working and giving business to Czechoslovakia, which is a communist country, and working with the USSR, right, the Soviet Union. But the Aswan Dam was an extremely important project for the future development of Egypt, and he needed this, and the Soviet Union was willing to offer that. Um, the Soviet Union leader Khrushchev, sorry, uh, agreed at the time to give Egypt a loan and offer technical assistance. By that, I mean engineers, people who know what they're doing, because the Soviet Union was pretty good at building stuff here and there, and so having that experience being offered to Egypt was really important and appreciated by Nasir. Um, the Soviets' main motivation, though, behind all of this is not like that they were doing it out of niceness. I mean, it is nice to do that, right? But it's the idea of expanding USSR influence in the Middle East, which is where the West had a little bit more control over. And so the USSR was trying to find a way to kind of like go into the region and have their own influence. And Egypt was the key to that. This relationship caused the US great concern, and therefore Nasir was labeled and portrayed as an ideological enemy of the West and Western allies. So everything is stacking up against Nasir as being labeled as an enemy, for what we saw in the last lecture in bad mouthing imperialistic powers in Northern Africa, and now coming into line with the Soviet Union, all of that. This motivated the United States to strengthen their relationship with Israel, as they were seen as the only reliable ally in the region. Why is that important? Because Israel will play a really important part in Nazir's foreign policy, because they do not like each other, and so decisions are made based off of that. But with that being said, that's all. Have a good day. Bye.